Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, that's right. Come on along.
Cincinnati.
Thanks for taking us along. Go on, what you may be doing today. Thanks a lot for taking us along for the ride. Jim Coyle with you, as always. Justin Kalen high atop the crew chief box.
That's right.
We've even got our old buddy Jake along for the ride today, too. So hope you're having a good day and ready to get to it. Chronic Hoosiers on the program today, as always. We'll talk to Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier as well. A lot to get to, but before we do that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are a look at your Daily Hoosier headlines on this 9th day of April 2019. As Virginia 85-77 over Texas Tech last night in overtime for their first national championship. They are the early favorites to repeat in 2020 as well. Despite the UCLA rumors, Rick Barnes will stay at Tennessee. That news coming out yesterday. Those are a look at your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 9th day of April 2019. For more information, be sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
And welcome back in. Thanks a lot for that. Big game last night, of course, the national championship game between Virginia and Texas Tech. And what a great game it was. A lot of people were not looking forward to it because it was two defensive-minded teams. But I was just looking for a good game. And if a game is close, I don't care about the style or whatnot. And I think that game last night was a good game. Obviously, it went to overtime, man. I don't know what more you'd want, but what a great battle. Texas Tech, man, they were behind, kept coming back, and they tied, coming back. They expended so much energy, but, man, they never gave up, and we're right there. And actually, dude, when they had the last shot, they had 1 second. The only thing in my mind is I'm thinking get the ball into the exact spot where they got it. All the guy has to do is shot fake because he has an entire second. One quick shot fake, that defender would have just tackled him almost. And no, he didn't. He just grabbed it. He tried to shoot it instantly, and not even close, of course. But and they'd go on to lose that game. But I thought it was a pretty daggone good game, man. It was fun to watch, and I guarantee you, whoever had the under, those guys weren't very happy because that game started out looking like they weren't going to score 20 points. I said yesterday, first one to 30 wins. I didn't know if they were going to get to 30 watching that game.
Yeah. Well, especially not in the beginning stages of it. Neither team could put the ball in the basket. They both kind of found a groove later in that first half, and it was way more of a high-scoring first half than I anticipated it being. But, yeah, you're right. The over-under last night closed at 118. They got to 162, so if you went under, you were way off.
Yeah, not even close. I mean, they blew by that. I'm going to give the guys that had the over were going, yeah. But a good game, and but Virginia gets their first national championship. The only thing I hate is that I don't hate it, but I hate seeing the ACC with another stinking title. Yeah. You know that since 2001 or so, since Michigan State won its last championship. That's the Big Ten's last championship. What was it, 2000, I think? Yeah. Since then, the Big Ten and the ACC have both put 14 teams into the Final Four. But the big difference is the ACC's got like 7 or 8 NCAA titles, and the Big Ten has 0. Unbelievable run of bad luck. I'd much rather have seen Texas Tech win that. I actually thought I had picked Texas Tech to win that. I thought that their defense was going to be a little more problematic for Virginia than the other way around. But at the end of the day, Virginia was just – Texas Tech seemed to be chasing their tail a little bit for a lot of that game. Like I said, they were behind. And then at large parts of it, they weren't behind a lot, but they were behind that same 6 points for a while. But But like I said, they didn't give up and made it a heck of a game because they would come back and take the lead and then go back and forth. But what a great game. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the program. Jim Coyle with you as always. Make sure you like or follow us on Facebook. You can also find the show rebroadcast on Apple Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, any place you find a podcast for the rebroadcast. You can also catch us live on the dailyhoosier.com, indianasportsbeat.com, or thegruelingtruth.net, or you can listen to it at any time there also. Follow me on Twitter at Jim Coyle, ISB, for complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers. Hey, guess what's going on this weekend, man? Little 500.
That's right. And I forgot a headline. Lester Quinones is coming in for Little 500 this weekend.
No, he is not. He had to reschedule his visit. He'll be coming. He has not reset it yet, but he had to cancel. But someone had put out a tweet. I think it was Zags put out that he had canceled his visit with that, but then Quinones quickly texted back out, "Don't worry, I just need to reschedule, or I will reschedule." But yeah, I was looking. I thought it was pretty smart of him to schedule his visit for the weekend of the Little 500. Can't get a bigger weekend than that. And then I think I sent out a post last night I was disappointed because I was hoping maybe he would play quarterback Friday night in the Cream and Crimson game because they're down a quarterback. They don't have one. I mean, man, they can run somebody in there. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. Lots going on this weekend up in Bloomington. The Little 500, the world's greatest college weekend, gets underway there as the Little 5 happens. If you're not familiar with it, Google it. It's worth it. There's a movie called Breaking Away if you want to do the clip notes. Cheat code.
You think that's why his visit got rescheduled? Mama looked up what Little 5 was all about?
Yeah. Maybe. Or maybe they told him, say, man, this ain't a good weekend. Yeah, nothing going on here this weekend. Maybe you want to reschedule it for a different weekend. No, it's hard to tell, but who knows? But it's actually good because he was going to Michigan later. And I'd always rather have somebody last. Yeah, I'd always rather have the last shot at somebody. But I think I forget when his visit with Michigan is scheduled, but I'm thinking it was at the end of the month. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, a lot of names there. You got Joey Brunk, Quinones, Howard, Harlan Beverly. You got the kid from Ben Davis. There's another one on I can't think to get another name on my.
You've got a Toomey.
Oh yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Now you see, all right, he's a shooter, but he's a short timer. I think Quinones, this dude can shoot, but he'll be here for a minute. Yeah. If they can get him, I think. Well, I'm not the coach and I'm not doing the recruiting, but from the outside appearances that I see, he would be a good get for them. A good 3-point shooter. That's what he does. He's a 2. And then you got Beverly, who's kind of a combo guard. Be great to have him under Finney because you have to have an understudy already. I mean, I know he's only a sophomore, but you've got to have a backup. You've got to be able to, when your point guard comes out of the game, you've got to be able to send another point guard into the game or have someone very comparable that is accustomed to running that position. I know Al Durham has worked on that some, but Devontae Green is probably going to just completely transition over to the 2.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he kind of already did last year. He rarely had the ball in his hands. I don't know if that – do you think that's maybe just a trust factor, the fact that we have seen him so careless and loose with the ball at times?
Oh, yeah. I mean, but that's not his position. He's not a point. Sure. He wasn't a point guard. So right. To let him get back to what he does is probably most beneficial. And it proved to be that as his play was greatly improved over the stretch of the season and was a key for Indiana's run at the end of the year. But they've still got to you've got to have superior talent in. They've got to continue to get superior talent in. Now, they can actually crush it in this recruiting class. I mean, they can. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, if you pull in Joey Brunk and you pull in Quinones and you add that to Trace Jackson Davis and Armand Franklin, I think that automatically bumps them to like number one. I think that would bump them automatically right to the top in the Big Ten of the recruiting classes coming in, without a doubt. It's definitely a top 10, top 15, or a top 15, top 20 national recruiting class.
Yeah, Mike Schumann, who will be on the show later today, he posted last week that if Indiana were to land Joey Brunk and either one of Harlan Beverly or Quinones, it'll put him at number 2 class in the Big Ten, but it'd be a number 20 or a top 20 class nationally. So I think you can live with that, and you can make that work if you're head coach Miller.
Yeah, because it doesn't really matter what the class is ranked. It's what are these pieces fitting in to your puzzle?
Sure.
Is this what you need? And yes, this is what they need. They need this big-bodied Joey Brunk to be able to step in there. You got Deron Davis, but they need another guy that can get it done. And they don't have that right now. Well, they do, but it's still in development, under construction. There should be a sign on the Indiana bench that says under construction at the end of the bench.
Not a bad idea.
But he gives you instant post presence along with Deron Davis. I mean, those are two big-bodied dudes, man. Two big-bodied dudes. And if you could add some guard play to that, they can have I think they could pull a page out of the Indiana women's program and lose their best. Now, I'm not saying Indiana just lost its best player ever. It did not. But the women, they lose the best player in their program's history. They lose Amanda Cahill, another one of their great players ever. The next year, they're better. They're able to get better because of other pieces they were able to bring in. And I think that could happen for this Indiana team if they get the right pieces. Critical. And the most critical point of all is getting a shooter. I mean, Joey Brunk, yeah, they need him. They need a shooter as bad as anything. Yeah. I mean, even Devontae Green's hitting, okay, that's one. I'm not confident in Al Durham's shooting. I'm just not. It's not consistent yet. Now, I think he can get there over the summer with a bunch of shooting and a bunch of shots, and we'll see. But we got a lot to talk about today on the program. Chronic Hoosier is going to join us, as always. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier as well. We'll talk a little bit more about this then. Stay tuned. We got a lot to talk about. We'll be back with more right here on Indiana Sports Beats.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Leaves me with the feeling that I feel the most. Feel it come to life when I see your ghost.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope your day's off to a good one. If not, hope we get it headed in that direction. Jim Coyle with you as always. Justin Kalen high atop the crew chief box.
That's right.
Chronic Hoosier joins us today in the next hour. We'll get to talk to him. Look forward to that. Lots to talk about. Cannot wait to talk to Chronic about the landing of Bob Knight at Indiana over the weekend. We haven't talked about that yet. But hard to not. Still, one of the biggest things that has happened at Indiana in a long time. Bob Knight returned over the weekend to a baseball game Saturday, shockingly, to anybody that was there that didn't know about it in advance, because this has been set up. And something else that I have been hearing for a couple of weeks, but I haven't said anything because this kind of aggravates me, because if you listened yesterday on Dan Patrick's show, he mentioned that sources told him that Bob Knight may be potentially moving back to Bloomington. Well, we've heard that as well, and that Coach Knight is, we've heard that he is looking, and this sounds cliche, like when there's a coaching search. What is every time there's a coaching search? Hey, I saw that coach's wife. She was in town looking for a house.
Billy Donovan.
Boy, yeah, Billy Donovan's wife was in town over the weekend looking for a house. But I've been hearing that Coach Knight has been looking to move back to Bloomington and was here looking for a home. That would explain the extended stay here. And now for it to come out nationally, then I guess that puts a little more credence behind it. But there was a lot of people in the IU media that was in the know about this, myself included. But we don't mention it because it hadn't been confirmed, and we're not looking to, create a stir when there's not one yet. But see, the national guys, they can do that and get away with it. Now, see, had I done that, may have gotten some grief over it
Yeah.
locally. But Dan Patrick can do it because guess what? He's with the network. What are they going to do to Dan Patrick? Not credential him for the next IU Northwestern game? But
Yeah.
anyway.
That story's just getting weirder and weirder. I mean, first you get Bob Knight coming back to Bloomington for a doubleheader baseball game against Penn State, and then now he's going to move back. This is just getting stranger and stranger.
Well,
After all this,
it's starting to make sense. It is
alienating him
stranger.
for so long.
Absolutely, and I'm not. You're right. It is, but while it's getting stranger and stranger, it is actually also making more and more sense. Things are starting to kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, now I see. He's getting up in years. His best friends, I think, are back here. His doctors are back here. The doctors that have taken care of him his whole life, but they were the team doctors, and they still take care of him. So it makes sense. Yeah, but it is shocking that for 19 years it was what it was. But the shock is really because either he has either forgotten how mad he was at Indiana. I mean, or whatever it was inside him that caused such anger, period. How he was able to get that angry. That seems to have dissipated along with whatever issues he's dealing with. I think that the one small positive thing is it seems to have affected that area. Because his demeanor was certainly very affable at IU the other day. And if he is moving back here, and to just show up like that, I mean, obviously, that's a 180, man. That is a reverse course of epic proportions. We'll certainly find out. But I am no longer shocked that this thing is. I'm shocked with the speed that this has happened. I'll tell you that.
For sure. To me, that's what makes it so weird.
Yeah, it's just like.
It's all so fast.
0 to 100 in 2.3 seconds, man. It's like, what? Wait, what? I mean, 19 years of not just ignoring, but bad-mouthing and, speaking of the Dan Patrick show, it was on the Dan Patrick show that he had that infamous interview where Dan Patrick said, why don't you go back, Bob? He goes, I think all those people are out of there. And he says, well, I hope they're dead. He goes, well, I think they are. He said, I think most of them are dead. He goes, well, I hope the rest of them go.
Yeah.
He said, I have no desire to go back there.
Wrong.
Well, things change. Things change.
No doubt.
But it'll be a good thing for the basketball program. It'll be a good thing for the university.
Does he come around to basketball games?
I think he comes to a basketball game in the minimum, yes. And he might come to more, yeah. But if he does, that completely tells me, to me, it doesn't matter. I think it's good for the university, and it's good for Bob Knight.
Yeah.
And so I hope he gets to enjoy it. I mean, we could sit here and beat it into the ground on the positives and negatives. Unfortunately, this is not the same person. So why beat on something that is not? It's just not the same. And I'm just not going to do that. So there's a tint of sadness to it, but I think that there's enough happiness for those that it is benefiting that it's a good thing. Hey, hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367, just like Joker did in reference to last night's game. You mentioned earlier, Justin, that Virginia was already the favorite for next year. That's because they got like everybody back but one guy, like the 9th guy or something.
Kyle Guy's coming back? I thought he was a senior. He was a junior?
Yeah.
Wow.
That guy. He's got to go count his place settings. Salad bowls. Gold-rimmed salad bowl. Yeah, he gets to cash in, man. I guarantee you he's going to have the best bunch of wedding gifts in the history of wedding gifts.
Well, in his opinion, he probably just got the best gift he could have gotten.
That's a fact, man. An 85-77 overtime win in the national championship as Virginia knocks off Texas Tech to win their first title. ACC sticks another one in their cap. Hate to see that, but oh well. Hey, how about the saga out at UCLA? Rick Barnes, who kind of out of nowhere became a big-time candidate. It caused a little bit of a stir, but he was able to use that to get himself a better deal at Tennessee, which may have been the only purpose the entire time. I don't know. Who cares? It doesn't matter to me. But UCLA, they got to find a coach.
Yeah, they're struggling.
Yeah, this is UCLA, man.
Well, UCLA needs to take a step back and reassess what they're trying to do here. I mean, you think of the coaches they've tried to go after so far. Calipari, you went after Rick Barnes. I think they even reached out to Bennett at Virginia. I mean, let's be smarter about it. Those guys are pretty happy with where they're at. And I will still say, I know I said it yesterday, but I'll say it again today. I think Tennessee is a better job than UCLA right now. So I don't blame Barnes for staying.
But why is it a better job right now? Because Rick Barnes made it a better job.
Right.
It wasn't when he got there.
Right, but I mean, if you get a
but
program
that's the whole
to
point of going out there is to bring glory back to a once glorious program. That's the challenge. That and the $5 million they were going to be paying him.
Yeah.
So and he used this to get a better deal with Tennessee. I'm telling you, it's like their football program last year. They had the same thing with their trying to hire a football coach. Gundy from Oklahoma State. He used that to get a way better deal at Oklahoma State. Jeff Brom ended up getting a much better deal at Purdue, but that was mainly because of the Louisville thing.
Well, and you've got to think that anymore coaches are using these situations as leverage to get that better contract because the majority of the situations, let's take Rick Barnes, for example, and Jeff Brom at Purdue is a good example as well. If you are in the process of rebuilding a program and you've got it headed in the right direction where you want it to be, do you really want to step away and go do that with some other program? No. I can't imagine.
Who knows? Well, we don't have to worry about it because he's not going. He's staying in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And you talk about a great opportunity for a young up-and-coming coach right now. Boy, I'd be jumping up and down, waving my hand and a flag on a pole. Say, hey, hire me. If because I think that may be the direction they have to go. Do they have to go find a young up-and-comer? I would sure think that with a bankroll that they obviously have at $5 million per, boy, I would think that their candidate pool would be vast.
That should make you a top 5 paid coach.
It's a different animal, man. It's the West Coast. It's Los Angeles. It's just a different atmosphere. It's a program that it cracks me up. People, will make fun of Indiana. Oh, they haven't had hung a banner in so long. They're not this or that. Yeah, whatever. They're still relevant. I don't see UCLA as being relevant right now. The name is, the brand is, but that program, I don't see that as being relevant. But that's just my opinion.
No, I mean, I agree with that. It's been irrelevant for years and years and years now. You never hear from UCLA come tournament time. You never hear UCLA winning Pac-12 championships. Just, they're never there. So I agree with you. Not relevant.
Jake hit up the text line and nominated Reggie Miller for UCLA coach. What a thought.
Nice. I like that.
That's not, you know what? That is not out of the realm of possibilities. I guarantee you Reggie Miller would jump at that opportunity if he wanted to get into coaching. Man. But that's another thing. Now UCLA, while they're hiring they would be hiring their great Reggie Miller. Does that equate into being a great coach? That would be his first coaching stop. Are you going to pay somebody $5 million a year on their first coaching stop?
Well, I mean, you're obviously not going to offer him the same amount of money that you just offered Rick Barnes. I couldn't imagine.
Well, you know what Reggie Miller's going to say.
Give Rick Barnes money. Yeah.
You're dang all right, baby. Hey, he said Rick Barnes didn't score 18 points in 2 seconds. That was me. Rick Barnes didn't take down Spike Lee. That was me. Rick Barnes didn't own the Knicks. That was me. Rick Barnes did not roam Madison Square Garden. Reggie.
I would admittedly miss Reggie on the broadcast side if he were to head into coaching.
He is a good one, man. Him, Charles Barkley, Bill Walton. I love Bill Walton. People don't like it. He cracks me up. He's doing all that stuff on purpose, not thinking. I think it's funny. I enjoy it.
I think it's exhausting.
A lot of people do. You're not the only one. But you know what? I think it's funny just because it's so out of the norm and is not trying to be. He did. You know what? He's Bill freaking Walton. He doesn't have to be anything or any whatever. He is one of the most decorated players in the history of this sport, and he is one of the most unique characters in the history of this sport. He's certainly a character. Hey, we got a lot more coming up on the program today. Chronic Hoosier is going to join us. Mike Schumann as well from the Daily Hoosier. Stay tuned. We got a lot more coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat.
One by one, hitting up my sleeve.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Radio, 96.1 WXVW. 77 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports. Coming along here, we're at the golf club at Eagle Point Studios. Justin Kalen, high top crew chief's box.
That's right.
Jim Boyle with you as always. Even got Jake along taking care of us. Jake from State Farm. What are you wearing, Jake?
Looks like khakis.
Chronic Hoosiers on the program today. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier as well. Looking forward to talking about that. A lot going on to get to. How was your week? And what do you have planned? Looking forward this weekend. The spring game for Indiana football, the Cream and Crimson game, will be Friday night. I think that's at 7 o'clock. All kinds of stuff going on up in Bloomington if you're looking for something to do, man. Little 500, the women's race is on on Friday. But also that's when the Cream and Crimson game. I think the women's race is at 4 and the Cream and Crimson game is at 7 that evening. So
perfectly timed.
People can pull the doubleheader. See how that works out. And then Saturday, the men's race. If you're not familiar with the Little 500, go rent yourself a movie called Breaking Away. To get you all up to speed on that. Billed as the world's greatest college weekend. I remember when I was in college, my gosh, the town of Bloomington swelled to like 3 times its size.
I'm going to take my hat off to you and commend you for actually remembering Little 5 while you were there.
Well,
because
I remember the weekend.
That's the part I don't remember the most.
Yeah, the only time I went to the race, I was not here at school. I hadn't transferred up here yet, but yeah, that was the only time I went to the race. I never went to the race while I was here on campus. There's a lot of, believe it or not, there's a lot of parties that go on. We had a lot of cookies and milk. Yep.
Something like that.
We have had trays of cookies for the festive goers. We would just hand them out, little trays of glasses of milk, and wishing them a good day. But a lot going on the weekend. Looking forward to that. Let us know how you're doing. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. You know, had a unbelievable experience over the weekend. Was fortunate enough to be the only person to get to talk to Coach Knight. And the reason we're able to do that stuff is because of our great friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry, who has served the Hoosier family's needs for over 30 years. Let Doctors Jay and Roger Reynolds take care of your needs as they do us and helping us provide you with the great coverage. Also, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving Southern Indiana since 1995. 812-944-5642. John Sweetland. Make sure you keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling. They take care of Clark, Floyd, Harrison, and Washington counties. Another reason why Indiana Sports Beat is able to bring you great coverage like the Bob Knight interview. We appreciate them immensely. Without them, we can't do what we do for you. So make sure you take care of them, whether that's Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg, or it's Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, or Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. I'm hungry. I'd like to have a pizza, a burger, and a beer right now. That would be excellent.
I have not had a beer this entire month, so I would love to have one right now.
Well, why haven't you?
No.
There's no reason not to have one. I mean, you gonna float away?
I'm doing it to see if I could do it for a month. I'm kind of dependent on beer, so I'm trying to see if I can let go for 30 days.
Did you say you're dependent?
A little bit. Not quite alcoholic, but I'm pretty dependent on beer.
What are you up to? Like a beer and a half a day now or something?
That's a funny joke.
Well, what, two and a half, maybe?
3 or 4, yeah.
Hey, what did you think of the title game last night? A lot of people were not looking forward to it because of the two defensive-minded teams. You know something I noticed, if I haven't mentioned this today, I can't remember, but last night's style was akin to Bob Knight and Archie Miller, because you have Texas Tech and Chris Beard obviously running completely under Bob Knight's defensive philosophies. Virginia runs the pack line defense, which is what Archie Miller runs. So it was kind of just neat just to see those two styles, those contrasting styles going at it last night. Interesting. But, man, what a battle it was. And Virginia, they got everybody back next year. My gosh, they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough.
Last night's game was a lot of fun. I did not think it would be near that high scoring. Granted, we had overtime, but still, even regulation was pretty high scoring. For them to get to 85 and 77 is just beyond me. But, yeah, I agree. Heck of a basketball game. A lot of fun.
Yeah, like I said, the over-under was 118. 162. It's not even close. That's like, what, 44 points?
Yeah.
Yeah, but when that game started out, I didn't know they were going to score 10 points before halftime.
Right.
I'm not kidding, man. Texas Tech had a slow start.
Well, it was like, what, 3-2 after the first media timeout?
Yeah, but that was in the bottom of the fourth.
Yeah.
Inning. That's what it seemed like. Then it looked like a baseball score for the early part of the game. Then it looked like a football score at halftime. It was 9-3. Not their halftime score, but it looked like a football halftime score toward the end of the half. It was like 9-something. I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
They picked it up.
Yeah, they definitely got it rolling, man. Definitely got it rolling. But now, will Chris Beard become a hot name in the coaching circle?
Oh, that's what I was going to bring up earlier. With the way UCLA's going after coaches, expect them to extend the olive branch out to Chris Beard.
I would have already done it. Now, see, you go throwing $5 million at Chris Beard, he's coming to Los Angeles. Why would you not? You're going to tell me you would go get Calipari and that facade of crap coaching? Because it's all smoke and mirrors, man. It's like the Wizard of Oz. He doesn't really exist. He's just some dude behind a curtain. Go get a proven coach. He just took this team to the national championship game. What are you waiting on? You morons. You're going after, like Justin said earlier, they're going after people. They're trying to make this big splash hire, which that's fine. But it ain't working. So
yeah, and Chris Beard would definitely leave Texas Tech for UCLA, right?
I think so, because he's not making anywhere close to $5 million a year. And if they throw that kind of money out, it's going to be hard for him to turn that down unless Texas Tech comes up with some oil money.
Yeah.
Out there in West Texas, out there in the plains of Texas. Black gold. Texas tea. First thing you know, Chris is Beard's a millionaire. But if UCLA, if the powers that be had half a brain, they'd have him on a plane right now to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Have his wife on a plane to Los Angeles. Have her in a spa overlooking Malibu, getting pampered. That's what they need to be doing. I think that Chris Beard's demeanor would be great. Well, I think it'd be great for anywhere. Now, would his style of play well in the land of Showtime? Not sure, because that's a style of basketball. You have to really enjoy basketball. And again, to me, that's not a basketball culture. You got people who are just, hey, man, there's a game tonight. Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
I mean, I think with the way UCLA's been the past however many years it's been since they've been relevant, I mean, the fans have not been there anyways. You might as well get a guy in who has a proven basketball style that he knows can work. I mean, it got him in the national championship. So it may not be the most sexy or exciting type of basketball, but UCLA fans just need a good basketball team. That's it. At this point, they don't care.
Well, they just need to get that program just needs to get good.
Right.
I mean, that's what they're going to have to try to do, but they're going to have to get a coach hired. They're not having a lot of luck getting that done so far.
Time's running out.
Time is running out. Hey, hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Let us know what your thoughts or comments are. Chronic Hoosiers on the program today. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier as well. I'm sure we'll talk about the return of Bob Knight. Can't imagine that we won't. How could you not?
You'll be talking about it. We'll be talking about it all week, probably.
And now that word is that Knight is probably going to be moving to Bloomington to spend the rest of his years in Bloomington. It's again, the speed of which all this is happening is it's a little. It's weird. It's 19 years of this, and it's just going to be washed away like woof and just gone. But not really. I mean, I think it's like I said earlier. I just think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing. Definitely. And I mean, it's going to give all the old Knight fans and all the old Indiana fans, it's going to give them a chance to get reeled back into the program. And I know there's not a lot of those people that have lost their way with being an Indiana fan because of what the coaching's changeovers or what have you, but it's going to give all those people a chance to get back into the program. So I think ultimately it's going to be a great thing for Indiana. Gotcha, Jim? Looks like we lost Jim. See if we can't get him back. Anyways, yeah, but I mean, Bob Knight coming back, I think at the end of the day is going to be a great thing for Indiana. You've got one of the most historic coaches, not only in Indiana basketball history, but in the national scene as well. He's been a guy that's stood out from time to time, or from more than time to time. I mean, he's won 3 national championships, but for him to be back and for Indiana fans to have that hope that now it seems like there is hope. I mean, you had the greatest college basketball coach of all time alienating your program. Now he's back. What does that do for not only the university, but for recruiting? I mean, you think about recruiting and what this could do when all those young guys see Bob Knight back on campus, continuously, hopefully. I mean, you'd like to see him there on a consistent basis, walking around campus, hitting up the classroom buildings, what have you. I mean, Bobby Knight being back in Bloomington is ultimately, at the end of the day, one of the best things that's probably happened for this Indiana basketball team in quite some years. And I could be wrong on that, but I really think that this is going to be a blessing in disguise for Indiana.
I agree with
now
you.
we got Jim back.
Yeah, I agree with you. You talking about Bob Knight?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it is for the overall program. It really is. Like I said, it's going to be a boost to the program. It's going to be a way of galvanizing people to a degree, but that only lasts so long because there's only one thing that's going to truly take care of all that, and that's winning. Winning cures all, no doubt.
Very true.
So that's what we'll have to we'll find out, but definitely things are going to be changing in Bloomington. It looks like the landscape of Indiana University. If Bob Knight were to move to Bloomington, what kind of would that leave a shadow hanging over? What is that? What does that do for Archie? Does Archie want to have Bob Knight living in Bloomington?
Why not? Why would he not want a guy living in Bloomington that he could go to for advice? Now, whether Bob Knight offers to give that advice or not, it's a different story. But at least Archie has someone now that he could reach out to if he does come across a situation.
I don't think that that's a viable situation anymore. So,
and I mean, you may be right. It may not be, but at least the option's there.
I don't think the option is there, is what I'm saying. I don't think that is realistic because of the situation. And I'm talking about Coach Knight's health.
Yeah.
I'm
not asking him to be in practice every day and come.
It can't hurt.
Team, but
it cannot hurt to have, if he's in an affable state, it certainly cannot hurt to have him around the program. Can you imagine just a nice Bob Knight? What if Bob Knight was nothing but nice for the rest of his life? Nothing but nice. Wouldn't that would blow people's minds?
He just wants to rewrite the end of his life by keeping people on their toes constantly.
Well, that's a good possibility because he sure got a good start on that. It's Saturday.
It's true.
I mean, you don't get a better start doing what you want, how you want, when you want than after 19 years just showing up out of the blue to a baseball game, which, of course, it wasn't completely out of the blue, we know, because he had reached out to Indiana University. They knew about it. It was set up and arranged that week. Coach Mercer had known. Did we play that yesterday? I can't remember. Did you ever play that?
I never did find him talking about it. I saw a couple articles breaking down, but I never could find video of him talking about it.
And you know what? We never played the actual video of Bob Knight. How did we not play that?
We could play that.
Well, do you have it ready?
Next hour.
All right, we'll do that next hour. But I think we also need to try to find Jeff Mercer and what he said. That it was pretty cool. So that'd be good to talk to. And to see the baseball team, they have Purdue coming in tomorrow.
Yep.
For a one-game, just a Wednesday game. They weren't scheduled to play. There's a lot of football changes on the Indiana football program as well. We'll talk about that in the next hour. Chronic Hoosier is going to join us, as he always does. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier as well. Hey, stay with us. We've got a lot more coming to it. We'll be back at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat back with more after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
And welcome along, everybody. Thanks a lot for bringing Indiana Sports Beat along. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always. Justin Kalen, high atop the crew chief box.
That's right.
We even have Jake along with us for the ride. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Chronic Hoosiers on the program today. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier as well. Lots to talk about. Let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are a look at your Daily Hoosier headlines on this 9th day of April 2019. As Virginia was an 85-77 winner last night in overtime over Texas Tech to win their first national championship. And they are the early favorites to repeat in 2020 as they bring back almost their entire roster. Despite the UCLA rumors that we discussed yesterday, Rick Barnes will stay as basketball coach at Tennessee. Those are a look at your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 9th day of April 2019. Be sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com for more.
Hey, thanks a lot for joining us. Chronic Hoosiers on the show today. Mike Schumann as well. Hopefully we'll hear from Bob Knight from the video from the other day. A brief interaction with Coach Knight as he returned to Indiana University. Rumblings have been around for a couple of weeks that Coach Knight was actually possibly moving back to Bloomington. Dan Patrick reported that yesterday. I've been hearing this for a while and hadn't said anything because I didn't know that for a fact that it's true. It's still there's no confirmation, but with all the rumblings that I've heard, that doesn't, of course, don't give in to rumor just because you hear a lot of it. But with what all transpired over the weekend, things are kind of falling into place as far as understanding, and the speed at which this is taking place is really grabbing the attention. Of course, Knight was here last Thursday for an engagement at Greenwood High School with his longtime friend, former sports editor at the Bloomington Herald. Oh my gosh, drawing Bob's. Well, your microphone.
Bob Hamill. Sorry.
Yes, Bob Hamill. My gosh, I was drawing a mind blank. But with him, and then was there at the baseball game with Mr. Hamill as well, as they took that in on Saturday. Been hearing that he's actually looking for a home, so him along with Billy Donovan, like you said earlier, looking for a home here in Bloomington. But big game last night. The NCAA title goes to Virginia in the ACC as they knock off Texas Tech in overtime, 85-77. What a game, man. Whoo! It didn't start out that way. It looked like it was going to be exactly what people were fearing with these two defensive-minded teams. But, man, it came around. The over and under was 118. They ended up with 162 points on the night. And they still blew that away without going to overtime. I don't remember what the score was when they went to overtime. It was like 72-72 or something, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so. I think that was exactly it.
But was it really?
I think so. Yeah, I'm looking now.
If that's the case, then that means Texas Tech scored 5 points in overtime.
Oh, Virginia outscored them by a lot in overtime.
Well, obviously they won by 8. But talked about Rick Barnes earlier, rumored to be going to UCLA, and not going to happen as he is going to stay at Rocky Top. Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to Rick Barnes and his $5 million a year. What is UCLA going to do? If they had half a brain, they'd have Chris Beard on a plane. And he'd have Chris Beard's wife in a spa in Malibu right now, being pampered with mimosas and manis and petties and all them other eddies they do. What are you waiting on, UCLA? My gosh, you can't get a better candidate. You're trying to pull in people like Calipari. They would pay Calipari whatever he wanted.
Oh, yeah.
And because it would just be this Showtime stuff.
Yeah.
But you want a real basketball coach? You go get Chris Beard.
Yeah.
Offer him $5 million a year and see if he doesn't come.
Guy's been coaching Division I for 5 years, and he's already in the national championship. You talked earlier about up-and-comers. That's your up-and-comer.
Dude, well, he's done up. He's here, and if they had half a brain, I would be beating the path to his door. And don't cheap out. If you're going to give $5 million a year to the joker like Calipari, you better do it to somebody who's a proven coach. I don't know that style of play would play well in the land of Showtime. You know, back in the day, Magic was running the floor with Showtime and the Lakers, and that was the rage of Los Angeles. Would Bob Knight's defensive principles fly in Los Angeles? Would that type of basketball fly there? I'm not sure, but I'll tell you what does fly any and everywhere. Winning.
Yeah.
Winning works wherever you are. Winning is never a problem.
Yeah, and that's a roundabout way of what I was trying to say earlier is no matter the style that any coach is going to bring to UCLA, they just need to see some wins because their program's been in rough shape.
Absolutely. Hey, Bob Knight was back on the campus of Indiana University over the weekend. If you've been living under a rock or on Mars, first time in nearly 2 decades after all that time of pretty much stating they had no use for the school or ever returning there, to the pleasant surprise and shock of most of us in attendance on Saturday at IU's doubleheader against Penn State. Lo and behold, Bob Knight showed up. I was fortunate to have a brief interaction with him, but he was kind of funny. I mean, so let's have a listen. Here you go. Here's the exclusive audio with Bob Knight. Maybe. Almost. That sounds like the golf cart riding. It will come to a stop when the golf cart stops.
He's got to get where he's going.
Coach, how are you doing?
Well, my wife isn't with me to tell me. So it's going to be a nice afternoon and be doing fine.
I'm sure a lot of people are happy to have you back here on campus. What is it like to be back here at Indiana?
It was nice being here.
And that was Coach Knight.
To have you here for a long time.
Interaction over the weekend. Nice to be here. His first time back to Indiana in nearly 2 decades. And so now, and then rumors are now, well, they have been, there is a great possibility that Bob Knight is moving back to Bloomington. That was mentioned on Dan Patrick yesterday, but I've been hearing this for a couple of weeks. When I first heard it, I thought it was the old Billy Donovan's wife's been spotted at the mall buying a slushie or something crazy. But I think that there may be truth to this, because as things come around, information-wise, it's starting to kind of fall into place and make sense. Just like there's other things, like the Indiana basketball season. What happened there? Did something happen? You know, there's always rumors and things flying around there. Obviously, that team went into the tank. There was something that happened, and hopefully that has been rectified, and I think that it has. And then, of course, next, who's going to fill the holes, man? It's like the old George Jones songs. Who's going to fill their shoes? Well, they got a lot of Adidas shoes to fill. 16 of them next year. 16 new Adidas shoes have to be filled. That's 8 pairs, folks. 8 new faces in Indiana uniforms next year. Will it be Joey Brunk? Will it be Lester Quinones?
Yep.
Lester Quinones sounds like he's on 2020. I'm Lester Quinones. This is 2020.
I was thinking more of like a Goodfellas character, but yeah, 2020. I can see that as well.
Goodfellas character?
Yeah. Sounds like you'd be in the mob.
You understand Quinones is Latino and the mob is referenced normally with the Italiano side of things.
Quinones kind of sounds Italian a little bit.
Yeah. Burrito Italian. It's like an Italian burrito.
That also sounds good.
It does right now. Rick Barnes is staying at Tennessee. He's going to take his nice new fat paycheck after flirting with UCLA. I don't know what the Bruins will do. Virginia's your new national champion. Hey, Chronic Hoosiers on the program today. Look forward to talking to him next. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier joins us well. You can also hit us up on the text line as well, 812-269-6367. Did we find Jeff Mercer, Indiana's baseball coach?
No.
Find it. Okay.
There's no video of it for some reason.
There's got to be.
That's what I'm thinking. That's such a cool moment for nobody to be filming.
I know there was. There has to be. I didn't stay for the end of the second game.
That's why we don't have video. Thanks, Jim.
That is why we don't have video for sure. That's not a lie. That's part of what I do, and I should have stayed, but it was the NCAA tournament night. That's what kind of screwed things up. And I got to tell you, after the Bob Knight thing, I was like,
I'm done here.
Yeah, because that happened at like 2:00. All that stuff goes down between 2 and 3 o'clock. Well, that's the beginning of the first game. There were 2 games that day, and it's like 3 hours for a college baseball game. Then you got the time in between. We're looking at after 9 o'clock that night. So, yeah, I was not. But, hey, we got a lot coming up on the program today. Chronic Hoosiers going to join us next here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big 6.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
If that doesn't make you feel good, I don't know what will on Tuesday. That means one thing and one thing only. Chronic Hoosiers along for the ride. Chronic, how are you, man?
I'm still coming to grips with the fact that it's over. It's officially the off season, man. It was a heck of a way to end it, but it's always that stark reality when you look at the calendar and realize just how long it's going to be till you get to watch college basketball again.
Yeah, and a lot of people were not looking forward to a game that had two teams that were so defensively minded. I was looking forward to it because I thought it was going to be a hell of a game. I was a little scared in the beginning when it wasn't heading in that direction, but it sure came around and got to be exactly what it needed to be.
I'll tell you what, I actually love this year's championship game because it kind of gave fans a chance to really sift through and figure out who the true basketball fans are versus who's just a fan of offense. I mean, let's be honest. That was a heck of a championship game, as good as any that I can remember in a while. And, I understand the common perception that, it's an ugly brand of basketball. But, there's the common axiom that the defense wins championships. And I think it's never been more evident, or at least not recently, since last night, or prior to last night, rather. It's the beautiful part of the game to me. I mean, the game is played on both ends of the floor, and we hear it all so often that that's truly what separates championship teams from the rest of the field is their ability to defend. And, that was kind of the superlative of it last night. So I enjoyed it wonderfully. I think people lost in all that was how good those offenses are too. Virginia coming in with the most efficient offense in the country last night. And ultimately, that was the deciding factor for them is their ability to squeeze out some of those plays late. But, man, that's exactly what I want my basketball team to play like. Some validation for the pack line defense in last night's title game. And hopefully it gives some people pause before they complain about what Coach Miller's trying to put in place here. Because as we've seen time and time again, not just in college basketball, but in all sports, defense is going to get you there, man. You absolutely have to figure out how to keep the opponent from scoring. And those two teams last night just did it at a level that it just blows the mind how stifling their defense can be.
Absolutely, and it was a unique opportunity because you had Chris Beard, the disciple of Bob Knight, and his defensive principles, which has served them quite well all season, against Virginia, and the pack line defense, which is what Archie Miller runs currently at Indiana. So kind of a unique opportunity to see those two schemes going against each other. But what not only just a great game, an incredible tournament. I mean, think about the games we got to see, the Purdue games, the Auburn games, all these incredible good games. Even look at the women, their national championship game came down to the same thing. Comes down to free throws at the end of the game. Just unbelievable games all the way around this year. And I hope it stays that way because, man, it is much more engaging and fun to watch that than to watch Kansas beat Fairfield 89-12. I mean, this was a great, fun tournament for me.
No, absolutely. And I think it also kind of highlights how important it is in this day and age of the one and done players and these super teams that are constantly being compiled every year by a select few, rather. Just how much of a premium coaches have to place on building team chemistry, on getting experience, on getting leadership. Truly finding players that are going to fit into their system and execute it. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we saw this tournament on the men's and women's side was just a bunch of teams that were out there executing their team stuff. In the men's, particularly when you look at the two finalists, the emphasis on decision making, on playing smart basketball, on making the proper choice in the circumstance. It's the way the game's supposed to be played. It's the game that we learned growing up in Indiana. Whether you're watching Texas Tech's motion offense, the ball screens that Virginia runs, just some phenomenal heady basketball. Cheers to all the coaches and the teams that put on one of the better tournaments I can remember in some time.
Absolutely. Indiana has a lot of holes to fill next season. 8 new faces expected to be in Bloomington on Archie Miller's basketball team. Obviously, looking to fill that with a lot of different sets of skill sets. One of those would be the big man in Joey Brunk, and I think Indiana gets him. I think it's a fit because I know he wants to be an attorney. He's from Indiana, of course, and I think he wanted to play at IU before he went to Butler. But regardless, 2 years of having a guy like that to go along with Deron Davis next year, that would be a great fit for them. If they can pull in one of these guys, a shooter, they can. I see this potentially as them pulling a page from the women's program, in which they have a season where they have Tyra Buss and Amanda Cahill, and then they lose those guys, and the next season they actually get better, not because of losing them, but of having more pieces in place like the women had this year. They had several pieces in place. I think the men can have that next year, especially if you get Jerome Harmon. You forget about him, Hunter, coming in. I mean, they could really elevate their talent level in a hurry and be back to a pretty good program or a pretty good team next year.
Well, first and foremost, it's actually 9 roster spots that are getting replaced this year, not 8.
Wow.
Yeah, it's we are in that's total roster spots. Granted, we've got some walk-ons as Coach Miller's going to be replacing as well, and I caught a lot of flack in recent weeks for including them, but those guys are absolutely part of the team. They're absolutely the reason Indiana was able to compete 5v5 in scrimmage this season in the face of some of the injuries. But that aside, though, that just further magnifies just how precarious of a situation Archie's in right now. I think this is an extremely high-risk, high-reward situation for the Indiana coaching staff. We find ourselves rather in a position here, just 2 seasons in now, where you're looking at just scholarship numbers alone. There's going to be 9 of the 13 scholarships are going to be wholly Archie's guys coming in here. If you look at Al Durham and Justin Smith, even though Coach had to retain them from the prior staff's recruiting and basically get a recommitment from them, those were never the guys he initially sought out for that class. So you're going to have 4 upperclassmen in Davis Green, Al Durham, and Justin Smith, and other than that, it's going to be a roster completely full of Archie's guys. It's going to give him the ability, albeit somewhat limited right now, just because this is not necessarily the ideal time to be filling your roster out in early April. But the opportunity is going to be there for Archie to put in place some of the guys that he wants to use going forward in building the Hoosiers into what he's trying to get them there. And I think you're right that Joey Brunk seems very likely at this point. Obviously, until it's announced, until the commitment is made known, it's still an uncertainty. But it would certainly seem to fit both for the player as well as the team as far as the needs and what they have to offer one another. I think one of the benefits here as well in this situation is you're really adding, if Brunk were to come as a grad transfer, you still got 2 years left of eligibility, play immediately. I think one of the opportunities that presents itself in this situation is also not just the ability to plug guys in, Archie's guys in, but also to regain some sense of balance in the classes right now. That was one of the big issues that Coach Miller inherited, with some really lopsided class sizes. It just made for some slim opportunities in some classes and some massive opportunities in others in order to bring guys in and fill it up. So kind of balance it across the number of classes, balance the available scholarships across the classes. That would really put Brunk in with the rising juniors next year. And again, just kind of give it more of a natural flow, a natural progression. And that's been one of the things that has lingered now for years is with the early attrition that Hoosiers have had to endure. It's made for some really imbalanced recruiting classes where there's a lot of guys coming in, having to get up to speed all together. A bulk of the scholarships, even they're going to be underclassmen. So it's going to give him the chance to hopefully iron some of that out. Obviously, there's going to be some positions still yet to fill. Whether or not he gets it from a late freshman commitment, whether or not there's some additional options, maybe that aren't even on the radar in the grad transfer market. And then there's always a possibility he's going to sit on some. And again, add more balance back down the road, perhaps see a red shirt come in. Archie's shown that he's not afraid to do that and to bank him. You're only running an 8-man rotation on average. That certainly affords that opportunity to be a little more scrupulous with the scholarships and how you want to dole them out and how you expect them to contribute down the road. Because let's be honest, with what he's got going on right now, you're not going to see a lot of freshmen come in and get immediate minutes, get heavy rotation. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, again, when you look back at some of these tournament teams, it's exactly how it happens, is you let guys grow and mature in your system and develop, and not necessarily be expected to carry the load like a one and done. And there's certainly some virtue to that. But at the end of the day, too, it's going to be something that's going to provide maybe some more long-term stability for the Hoosiers, and I think that's going to be absolutely paramount if he's going to be able to get them back on track here soon.
Absolutely, and this gets him a lot closer to having the roster that he wants to have. And I think that until he gets that, the kind of success that the Hoosier Nation is looking to have is just not going to completely be there. But this gets him a lot closer in doing that. There's no way I can not talk about the big deal over the weekend, Chronic. Coach Bob Knight showed up at the baseball game out at the BART on Saturday. Nobody more shocked than I was, but wow, what an utter shocking turn of events.
Yeah, I've got so many feelings on this one. I think there's a lot of mixed emotions seeing Coach Knight back on campus. I'm still kind of processing it and trying to understand the contours of what this means, what it might signal. There was a lot of positive emotions, I guess, in seeing that. A lot of confusing emotions as well. I don't know if this is necessarily a sign that the coach is ready to make amends. I don't know if this is a sign that coach is digressed to the point that he no longer remembers why he wished death upon many of the IU administrators that were still surviving his termination. I don't know if this is just his way of saying, of perhaps burying the hatchet. I still feel like he fell short of where it needed to be. I mean, I felt like he was 1,000 steps away from where he truly belongs back on campus. I am of the understanding that this wasn't the first time he's been back on campus proper since his termination. It's my understanding he's seen Cook Hall, he's seen the renovations at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. He's just always chosen to do it very quietly, very privately, so that not to make headlines, so as not to let it be known that his grudge was officially over. But to do it in this manner was certainly surprising, to say the least. Not to mention to make it at a baseball game. And I know Coach Knight is a huge baseball fan, has been for a long, long time. I can only imagine how cool that was for the baseball staff, particularly Jeff Mercer. You heard his comments about it and what Coach Knight and that legacy means to him. So I thought that was extremely cool. But I also still remember, the road we've traveled to get to this point, still fresh in my mind, is the 76 reunion back in 2016 that Coach Knight declined to attend. So there's a piece of me that's happy to see him back on campus, happy to see him willing to embrace the way in which his legacy and Indiana basketball's legacy are really inexorably intertwined. I think they always will be, and I think that was always one of the sadder parts about this divorce, if you will, was the fact that it really deprived both parties of fully being able to embrace that. And then I'm still left questioning exactly what does that mean, and does it even matter at this point? Now we're almost 2 decades past his removal here at IU. 36 years past his last Final Four at Indiana. It certainly feels good. I just don't know how much it matters anymore, to be honest with you. And I don't know that I will anytime soon. I think this is, again, something it's been so long in the making. It's going to take some time to process, and we'll see where it leads. Perhaps this is a thawing out where, maybe next season Knight does come back onto the court at Assembly Hall and receive the embrace that so many fans have for so long wanted to give him. But I guess at the end of the day, it's a pretty big step in the right direction for both parties.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't know. I think it may be a combination of all of the things, of him realizing that he's in the twilight, and those around him have maybe helped him realize that hey, this needs to happen. This is ridiculous. You've left a legacy, but you're fractured from it. So that, I think the health issue definitely is playing a part. There's obviously a lot of talk about him moving back here to Bloomington. I've been hearing that for a while. I hadn't said anything about it till it was said on Dan Patrick yesterday. So might as well now, but I don't know that that's a fact is why I haven't said anything. But as much as I've heard it, and what all the things that have transpired here lately, that everything seems to make sense. Coming back to be with the people that he has loved and trusted, his doctors, his friends. So we'll see if that turns out to be the case. And I think it would be great for the program. Why he comes back now, I don't know that question's ever truly answered.
Because he chose to. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah,
Bob
exactly.
Knight can do what Bob Knight wants to do, and for no other damn reason.
And when he wants to do it. Exactly right.
Yep.
You're right on. But the one question I do ask, because he has, obviously you mentioned, and it's kind of well known in certain circles that he's been back before, but he does that when he comes back and he goes to Cook Hall and he goes in to see the renovations in private, but yet maintains this public stance of I'm never going back there. But yet the truth is he has been back. So is that not just more saying that, hey, I'm going to act like I'm pissed at IU, but the truth is I'm really not, because I know that the people that have done me, that I feel done me wrong, are gone. So it's just kind of weird to me that he would come back in private, but then maintain this public stance of disassociation.
Again, it's whatever Coach Knight chooses to do. I mean, quite honestly, this is something that he has nurtured and embraced his grudge against the university. He's played off of it. He's parlayed it into I don't know how many different speaking engagements all over the country, but especially around the state. It was a big deal. I don't know how many years ago now, 6, 7, 8, when he came and signed some copies of his book at the local Walmart here in Bloomington. And it was, it was again one of these baby steps back towards Assembly Hall, back inside the city limits of Bloomington, without ever acknowledging. I think he went out of his way to disparage, those who were part of his termination, and just continuing to hold his grudge and again feeding it. Publicly at least, but all the while still embracing the community as much as he could in the way that he somehow felt was appropriate for where he wanted to posture himself. And I don't know if those pretenses are officially gone at this point. I don't know that we'll ever know exactly what motivated him to come back now in the manner that he did. No differently than I guess we'll never know why he chose to make his late night appearances on campus and to go see what's become of the program he once led. Obviously, it's something that's still very close to him. It's something he considers important and part of his legacy. We'll see if there's the opportunity left to make full amends, to really allow a rejoining. And again, I don't know that ever happens fully unless you see him back on Assembly Hall's court. I still am, incredibly disappointed that when his players, who he said it was all about, he's always deflected to the players and to the fans as the ones that made all his accomplishments possible. And, when the opportunity was presented to him to really be a part of that and really fulfill that celebration of his players a couple years ago for the 76 celebration. And he demurred. And that was certainly a choice he made. And that's one that, until he does otherwise, is going to be, at least in my book, kind of where he truly stands on it. So, again, I think it's a step in the right direction for all the parties right now. Having lived with a form of dementia a couple times actually within my family, I understand how important it is to be back in a familiar setting, to be back in an environment that, like the back of your hand, because eventually you're going to forget what your own hand looks like, and that's going to seem foreign. So I can appreciate what this can be for him at his point in his life right now. We'll see if there's any time left though for some more lucid moments and see what he chooses to do if he does in fact decide to come back to Bloomington on a full-time basis.
We'll certainly see. Chronic, thanks, brother. I appreciate you. Look forward to it each week.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Enjoy the Little 5, brother. It's Little 5 week. Chronic Hoosier on with us here. Hey, coming up next, Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, Located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway, Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Sleeping on the floor, but I know you were there.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle, as always, joined now by our good friend Mike Schumann from TheDailyHoosier.com, where you get free IU content. Michael, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Jim. How are you doing this morning?
Lovely. It is a beautiful day. Sun's up. It is nice outside. It's not cold. It's not raining. You can't complain.
And college basketball is over.
Now I can complain. You just put me into a state of just utter disillusionment and depression. This is the absolute worst day of the year for me. I hate not having college basketball. Man, And now we've got, 5 months before college football? Woo, or however long it is.
Yeah, it is. It is a hard time of year beginning right now, unless you're a big baseball fan or an NBA fan, which I enjoy both. But for me, I'm college basketball and football more than anything else. So it begins a little bit of a down season. But what a great way to go out last night, huh?
I'm telling you, that entire tournament, man, I talked about it earlier with Chronic and talked about it just all, yesterday as well. Just this entire tournament to me it's the best tournament I can remember as far as the games, how good they were. The vast majority of them were just really, really good games. And that's because the parity is such that the seeding was probably as good as it could have been, or has been in quite some time. Because if you looked down, you saw a lot of chalk going through the games, but it wasn't. Nobody was really blowing anybody out. These were good games. They were going pretty much according to plan. There were a couple of deviations, but those teams from 1 to 5, I think you just throw them in a blender almost and mix them up. Obviously, because all the ones got knocked out except for one. But they could have easily lost to Texas Tech, who was a 5 seed. So what an incredible turn. Even the women's tournament ended, on free throws at the end of the game. So these games were just really good teams playing very good basketball.
Yeah. And what I kept coming back to last night with Texas Tech and Virginia was just the notion that, if college basketball is moving on from the one and done era, what better game, what better demonstration that the game is going to be just fine without kids that really aren't fully invested in the college game anyway. I mean, those were two teams that are more program type teams that, are really committed to fundamentals and details and, recruiting kids that are willing to commit themselves to those sort of things. Of course they all eventually have their eye on the pro prize, but for the time that they're there, and it's usually more of a 3 or 4 year proposition, they're doing all the right things and producing a great product. I mean, I heard so much, actual whining about the matchup for that game, and everybody that was whining got proven wrong. I mean, that was just a fantastic college basketball game. And I think one thing that we learned is that teams that play good defense also sometimes know how to score against good defense. And so it wasn't the 45-40 game that a lot of people were expecting. It was good on both ends of the floor. And I personally, I just appreciate that kind of game. I appreciate teams that defend hard. I appreciate watching the strategy and the effort that goes into the defensive side. It's half the game, and I would take that game every year if that's the direction that college basketball is going. I think it's in a great spot.
Yeah, and that brings to mind the few teams that build themselves on 5 stars, the Dukes, the Kansases, the Kentuckys. We're in a transition period. That rule change is not going to happen for probably at least 2 years, and that's because it's up to the NBA. It's the NBA's rule, and it's the NBA that has to change that, but they also have to get approval from the Players Association. It's not just the commissioner can't just say, okay, we're going to change this. It doesn't work that way. So we're looking at probably a 2-year process. So we're going to have 2 more years of the one and dones. The teams like the Kentuckys, when they've got to start this transition at some point. Calipari, he's going to lose, I think, Hero and Washington and Hagens and then probably another one. And you've got Keon Brooks coming in and others coming in, but they're going to be young. And they're going to have to start this transition to get to that point. Because if they don't, then they're going to be behind everybody else that has already gotten, quote unquote, gotten old. From a team standpoint. So I think that is something to keep an eye on and see how that plays out.
Yeah, you're right. It is an interesting time. I mean, it's things are pretty clearly going to change. It's just a question of when. And so these teams like Duke and Kentucky, do they continue on until the bitter end, or do they just kind of go ahead and say, okay, this is who we're going to be going forward? and let's go ahead and start going that route. I mean, I guess you could say that the Dukes and Kentuckys of the world are going to get the best players that decide to play college basketball. You know, they just won't be one and dones anymore. So they'll still continue to get the top talent, which will make them continue to be the top programs, but it's still going to be an adjustment in the way they go about things. And, you know, who knows? I mean, maybe after you take out the one and dones, it's not kids that, you know, view a Kentucky or a Duke as the best destination. It'll definitely change things, and probably for more than anyone else, Calipari, it will test what he's done, because he, you know, before Duke or anyone else, Calipari's always kind of built his program around the one and done guys, even going back to Memphis and really even UMass, because that was all about Marcus Camby. So it'll be an interesting transition, but you know, I'm not saying that they can't continue to be successful. It's just going to be something different.
And time has proven that the one and done player is not the way to a championship. That point has been proven out at the NCAA tournament, and could not have been more emphatically thumped than it was this year with the removal of Duke from the tournament, possibly one of the most talented teams, other than the John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins Kentucky team. I can't think of a more loaded one and done team. Neither of those teams win a title. Neither. Think of that. John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, I don't even know who else they had, but they had a loaded team. Didn't win it. You just had Zion and Barrett and all those guys, didn't win it. It's already been proven that this is definitely not the way. Villanova, you know, they were not. They won 2 out of 3. They didn't have 5 stars. They weren't doing that. Michigan obviously got there. Texas Tech not built on that. So it's been proven that that's not the way to get to a title. So they're kind of behind already in my mind, and I just think it's going to be very interesting. Plus, now you add to the fact, and I've mentioned Kentucky and Duke, both being Nike schools, which I'm sure there may be more comes out in that regard too. So we don't know how about that, but there's just all kinds of little bitty tidbits and ingredients into the scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really hard path to try to build a cohesive team in a matter of months. You know, watch it all come together. And I mean, I'll give Calipari credit. He usually over the course of the season does get a team to start playing better together, and they improve over the course of a year. I mean, they clearly did that this year, if you think back to their first game against Duke. But then to do all that and then watch, you know, half your team go pro and do it all over again. I mean, that is not an easy thing to do. And I agree. It's not proven out to be the most reliable way to consistently win at the highest level. They obviously consistently win, but you know, it could even end up that here in a few years, people realize that, you know, whatever we end up with is a better answer for teams like Duke and Kentucky. So I don't know what's going to happen. What I would personally love to see is something along the lines of how college baseball does it, where if you decide to go to college, it's a 3-year commitment. I don't know that you can necessarily force that, but I think it would be a great answer for the college game, at least.
Yeah, those are so different in scope. The baseball, it's so spread out. Baseball is a unique animal. You look all the way through the farm systems, how they single A, double A, triple A, but they've got other leagues as well, prep leagues. They have got 1,000 different leagues and levels. So it's such a different thing. And baseball is also unique in that it really takes a while for them to develop those players. I mean, they actually do develop. The majority of those players that you see in the majors, they're developed. They don't come from high school or college. They come from the farm systems. They have to go through, they have to learn how to play pro baseball. And so it's a different animal as, say, basketball, and even football. It's that you don't see them doing that in football either. But yeah, it's there's no magic formula, but we'll just see how it works out.
Yeah, and I suspect that most of the guys, you know, after you weed out the true obvious one and dones like Zion, I mean, most of the guys are 3-year guys anyway. You know, I think it's just not as obvious once you get those top 5-10 guys. There's going to be a few guys every year, like a Ja Morant that comes out of nowhere, and by all rights can and should go pro, but it's just not going to be a revolving door the way it has been here over the last 10, 15 years, and I think that will be good for the game ultimately.
Yeah, and speaking of the game, Indiana's got to get their game online. They've got 9 faces to replace his chronic point. I thought it was 9 new faces. Now, of course, as he said, also a lot of those, some of those are walk-ons. But right. That's still, it doesn't matter. That's half your team. That is an unusual amount of new faces on a team. That's a lot, man. And that all.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Luckily, some of these guys, if say they get Joey Brunk, that'll give some age, but they're going to be a young team.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about that last week. It's, Archie Miller's challenge right now that he can't seem to quite solve is how to, be like some of these teams we saw in the tournament that are, have gotten old and are staying old. His team is going to be young again next year. There's clearly some upperclassmen, but for the most part, it's going to be a team that relies a lot on young guys and as you mentioned, the turnovers. So it's not going to be a year that you will sit here right now and look at and say, okay, this is a year where we can take the next step and clearly be an NCAA tournament team. I mean, there's still a lot of unanswered questions with 3 scholarship openings, going into these next couple months. It'll be interesting to see what they can do. I saw that Lester Quinones canceled or at least postponed his official visit, so that's interesting thing to monitor. I know he said it was for personal reasons, but we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, he put a text that said, "Don't worry, I will reschedule."
I'd say I'm worried, but we'll see how it plays out. But whether it's him or a Harlon Beverly or whoever it may be, I think there's still some good potential to add to the roster, but beyond a guy like Brunk, I think you're looking at a young team that has to, do what we mentioned with the one and dones in a lot of respects. They got to kind of come together and find chemistry and pull it all together in a short amount of time, or we're looking at another interesting season. So, but it's all going to come down to shooters, right? If you just take everything, all the craziness away from this last season. And you have a team that just, instead of 31%, if they hit 36% and they shot 75% of the line instead of 65%, we're not having any of these conversations. I mean, they're probably a 20 to 22 win season, a clear NCAA tournament team. I mean, it makes a huge difference.
1 minute left, Mike. I can't let you go without talking about the return of Bob Knight to Indiana on Saturday.
Yeah, and congratulations for you for being on top of that. That was probably a neat moment for you. The first thing I thought of when I saw your video was, how in the world did he keep his hand steady to shoot that? And my hand would have been shaking like crazy trying to capture that moment. I'm sure that was an exciting moment for you. I guess for me, I'm glad to see it. I'd be lying if I didn't say that I was just concerned that, it's coach's way of kind of signaling that his health is declining and it's kind of now or never, but whatever it is, it's a great moment for Indiana. I know people have a lot of mixed emotions about Coach Knight, but I think just for everyone's benefit to kind of close that chapter out on a positive note is a very good thing.
Absolutely. Mike Schumann, I can't thank you enough. TheDailyHoosier.com is where you find it. Free IU content. Make sure you do so. Mike, I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Jim.
You bet. Mike Schumann from TheDailyHoosier.com. Make sure you check it out. That's going to wrap it up for us here today. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll be back with lots more. Matt Weaver will be with us as we'll see what else we can scurry up. For Justin, Kalen, and Jake, I'm Jim Coyle coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios in the Sports Beat. I'll see you on the radio.
You've been affected by social